Nicotine salts, nic salts, what are they, how are they used, and how are they different from standard nicotine e-liquid? Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to take a look at them, how they compare to standard nicotine e-liquid, and how they can be used. Nicotine salts, or salt nicotine as it's also known, is naturally formed in leaf tobacco and has had a few more tweaks along the way compared to standard nicotine e-liquid or free-base nicotine that most of us are used to. It's taken longer to get to this stage of availability to the consumer, as rather than the process of free-base, which produces a nicotine with a high potency, salt nicotine has had to go through that extraction process from leaf tobacco and all the testing and development on top. It's processed with benzoic acid, which works in a number of ways. Firstly, it helps the salt nicotine to be absorbable like free-base nicotine. It also allows salt nicotine to vaporize at a much lower temperature than it would naturally. And finally, it lowers the pH levels to provide a much smoother throat hit, hence the time it's taken in development to get it just right. Essentially, this all adds up to the feeling of a much higher nicotine strength if that's what you're looking for. If you were used to the likes of a 24 or even a 36 milligram strength e-liquid prior to TPD legislation, you could find that a 12 or 18 milligram liquid with nic salts could get you a similar hit. In fact, salt nicotine is not recommended for high wattage devices due to how efficient it is at delivering nicotine. It's also not recommended for sub-ohm vaping. Whichever way you plan to vape it, we would recommend you use a mouth-to-lung tank with at least a 1 ohm coil to begin with. This is mainly as you can gauge the strength much more effectively this way at first. Just try it out in a Nautilus 2 or even a cheap CE4 initially, just to see how it feels for you before venturing into trying it out in a more powerful setup. As the nicotine hit is much smoother than with standard nicotine e-liquid, you can vape a considerably higher nicotine strength with the same level of comfort. This can help if you find you're going through a lot of e-liquid, and a result can drastically reduce the amount of liquid you vape on a daily basis. With that in mind, as well as starting off with an MTL tank, it's best to take it slow and leave between 5 and 10 seconds between vapes to allow that nicotine time to absorb and for the body to catch up so you know when to take a break. Finally, if you're used to mixing your own e-liquid with free-base nicotine, the numbers are going to be different. The standard nicotine e-liquid for mixing is 18 milligram strength. Nic salts is 20 milligram. Here's the breakdown you'll need for mixing your e-liquid with 20 milligram salt nicotine. Bear in mind that just like free-base nicotine, salt nic can come suspended in VG, PG, or 50-50. Taking a look at the table, to get a 3 milligram strength in 10 milliliters, you'll need to add 1.5 mils of nic salts. For a 6 milligram strength in a 100 ml bottle, it would be 30 milliliters of nic salts. So that's how nic salts differ to the standard nicotine e-liquid or free-base nicotine, how to mix it, and how to use it.